Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Grace Lauren Taylor, and you are listening to episode 77 of the Trauma Dump Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Here at the Trauma Dump Podcast, we seek to answer the question, what is mental health? How do I take care of my own, and how do I support others? This week, we're going to be discussing the topic of self-discovery with Avalon. You can go follow Avalon over on Instagram. It is Avalon OXO. That is AVALONOXO. This week, she's going to be sharing her journey of personal growth and self-discovery shaped by experiences like growing up in different states, competitive dancing, playing a musical instrument, and transitioning from dental lab school to fashion business school in NYC. She's also going to discuss how these experiences influence her alternative fashion style, offering reflections that aim to inspire others to appreciate their own journeys and growth. Make sure you go check her out over on Instagram to support her for being on this episode. And remember, if you like to share on the show, please message us in our Discord in the podcast participants channel along with your unique experiences, and we will match you to the right episode. And just a quick disclaimer before we start, I am not a licensed health professional. Okay, this podcast only seeks to create community and further understanding of these topics that are so often overlooked and extremely misunderstood. If you or a loved one are in need of medical professional help, we have so many different resources in our descriptions on both YouTube and Spotify. The podcast is here to help you, so please connect with us over on our Discord. Hey, if you need resources, check them out. The topics discussed here are for a mature audience, so viewer discretion is always advised. And if you're liking what we're doing here on the Trauma Dump Podcast, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us over on YouTube. We post new episodes every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show. That really helps us reach more people who need to become trauma informed. All right, let's get into this episode on self-discovery. There we go. Hi, Avalon. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Grace. I'm so excited. I'm super happy to be here. It's a huge pleasure to be on the podcast dump, and I'm excited to be talking about, my self-discovery and also letting people hear about my life and also reflect on their own life and to create a community of sharing personal stories and bringing about of generosity and within the community.
Amazing. I love that generosity is the term that you're using. What do you think it means to have a generous spirit?
I think it's more so having an optimistic outlook, but also creating a community where it's not only reflecting on the negatives to bring awareness, but it's also bringing the positives and talking about things that are more also on a neutral base so that everyone can feel free to participate and be a part of something without trying to exclude any ideologies or any backgrounds. I think that we should create more communities where everyone feels open. I think that when we do have communities that allow people to be themselves, it really saddens me when there's people out there that try to diminish it and try to forbid it from happening or from it being a part of its own thing when everyone is just trying to create a community that is safe for their people and also for a time in celebration. But that's something that it means to me is creating a positive atmosphere.
I get that. I'm glad that you want to create a positive atmosphere. That makes me really happy. Before we get into this full-on interview, I want to address what are your pronouns? How should we refer to you?
She, her.
Awesome. Are you comfortable with discussing your personal experiences?
Yes.
And to make sure that I'm not crossing any of your boundaries and respecting your experiences, please feel free to interrupt me at any time if you feel uncomfortable. We can also take a break. And if you don't feel like answering a question, just let me know. I'll skip it because my priority is to make sure that you feel safe and comfortable at all times.
Cool. Perfect.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what led you to create content centered around alternative dressing and self-expression?
So it all began when I was a teenager in middle school when I really started to experiment with my looks. And I also started to hang around with people that are more so on the alternative side and they like to experiment with outfits, makeup, and music. And they tend to not really follow the crowd. They tend to do things that really gravitate towards them or really spoke to their language in a way that they can really connect. And even before then, I always thought that my expression of fashion really started in middle school because of the people that I was surrounded with or became friends with. But it really all started when I was little, where I felt that there was no need and I felt that something was wrong to solely just fit in and act as a servant just to get by in life. So I always like to question authority and I always like to do things that I think will benefit and I think will bring new ideas to the table. And I think that bringing new ideas to the table allows for more open conversation, also creates a community where people can bring these new concepts and that we can allow progression to happen throughout life. I think that always sticking to the same traditions or the same ways isn't going to work for the long run. But when I was little, I would cut paper and I didn't grow up with like a sewing machine. My family is into fashion, but my mom actually was a makeup artist and a hairstylist when she worked in Dubai. And that's where my parents met, is they met in Dubai. Long story. My dad, I'm not sure what he did, but I think he did construction work. So he was doing something in Dubai. I'm not sure it was construction, but he worked like a whole bunch of different jobs in his past life. And well, when he was much younger, that's what I meant to say. But yeah, that's how they met. And I think that I'm someone that really loves to experiment. I've always loved science, but I always love to create. I love freedom of expression. I do not like to conform at all. I think that life needs more people with different thinkings of life, whether it's something that you do to work and to conform with other people, or you're someone that is the inventor, the entrepreneur. And I think that having all sides is what creates a community and a balance within society. But that's where I think it all began, is because it was something that I truly felt my way of expressing who I am in an easy way where it won't really get me into any trouble is expressing myself through fashion. But I also think that it's a way for me to dress up. And I also get inspired by a lot of, movies and also the music and other cultures. And anywhere that I go, even like my experiences traveling or just visiting nature, I always get this creative spark to create something new. And it gets me like really excited. And I think that's where it all began, is I don't think there was a definite start where I was like, oh, I really liked fashion, I want to start expressing myself. I think it kind of gradually happened throughout my experiences, which kind of led to me to express the way that I am. And over time, it has kind of adjusted. It changed. I went back to some styles I like, or, I try other styles. But I think it was like an experiment in a way that I go through. It's kind of like writing a new story each time and then rewriting it. That's kind of how I view it.
I think that's a very beautiful way of putting it, of writing a new story, reviewing it, rewriting it. I think that's gorgeous. I love that. And I mean, I can see the top, but do you have like a full outfit going on? Do you want to do like a little outfit tour for us?
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah, it's like my old shoes. I don't know if you can see it,
Mhm.
but these ones are from 2013. I still like wear a lot of my old things, and once in a while I like to get some new clothes, and I like to support some like small goth brands, alternative brands. And I do make some of my jewelry. I did make this one back in middle school, and this one took a lot of hours, but I sometimes like to make jewelry, and some of them I did not make, but I don't know if you can, but here's like this, here's a Hubba Bubba necklace that I made. I also made earrings too. They're like Hubba Bubba.
That's
And
awesome.
I
Can
just,
you pull it closer to the camera so we can see?
yeah.
You got to speak so the camera shows you. Say hello.
Hello.
Gorgeous. And can you show us the bracelet that you made in middle school,
Yes.
you said?
Yeah, there was this person that made a bracelet like this, so it isn't my own idea to create this bracelet, but I saw someone doing it. And one of my favorite EDM DJs is Dead Mouse. So I decided to do something like this. And my favorite color is blue. So I decided to do one in blue. And then I bought one from an independent seller that was like a hot pink color. But I always like to mix the blue. Oh, and here's my shirt top. And then this was socks, but I cut this and I decided to wear it as arm warmers. And I have my jacket. I'm not wearing it right now because it's kind of hot in here, but here's this hoodie. So this is an old brand called Cupcake Cult. And this is an old jacket that I still have with me, but it's a dino. I remember when I wore this outside. I'm currently now in New York City and I'm studying the business of fashion. But when I was outside, someone was like sitting in their car and they were like super happy. And they said, "Oh my gosh, Pokemon!" Because they thought it was a Pokemon hoodie.
That's really crazy. That's cool though. That's awesome. I love how you reuse a bunch of your stuff. That's amazing. You're like, "Oh, I got this a long time ago." And I that makes me really happy because a lot of people in the fashion industry just want what's new, what's the latest thing. And there's a lot of consumerism and there's a lot of waste. And I like that you reuse your stuff or you keep some of your things, your fashion, still evolves, but you have new ways of using the same things. Can you tell me a little bit about how that is part of your philosophy?
Yes, a lot of it comes down, which is something I'm going to be using a lot of, is a lot of it comes from nostalgia, times that I remembered were happy moments. And despite of anyone's life, and I'm just going to say this in a general context, so I'm not saying anything specific, but I'm saying in a neutral base, is everyone's life can have some up and downs based on experiences, but I always like to remember the parts of my life that really brought happiness, joy, and creativity, and parts of my life where I felt like, wow, I really did this back then. And I was expressive, and I want to continue to be expressive. And even after I took a break from college, when I graduated an associate's degree in dental laboratory technology, I've always wanted to go into a creative field, but I didn't go to it because I thought to myself, well, I couldn't design because I don't have the technical skills. I can't sew. So I decided to go into science because science was one of my strongest subjects growing up in school. But I was like deciding whether I want to be a paleontologist or if I want to be an orthodontist. So I decided I want to be an orthodontist, and I was about to go to a local University of Buffalo College nearby where I live, and I lived in Western New York. But I saw there was a brochure that came in the mail, and it was showcasing an advertisement from a local community college nearby that was stating dental laboratory technology. Never heard of it. But I decided to go into it because I thought if I go into a community college, then I won't be losing as much money and I won't be wasting as much time because it's only a 2-year degree program. I can get my core classes out of the way and then I could use that credits to transfer to any school that I want to do, whether I want to continue within the dental industry or if I want to go into a totally different field, more of an artistic or performing arts school. So I wanted to do fashion, and I remember when I attended the first day of class. And for dental laboratory technology, it's basically making prosthetics, crowns, retainers, and like braces, like wires for like braces and all of that. And to many people, it seems so fun, but taking tests and learning and knowing the knowledge of it was easy for me. But I learned that I'm more so more creative in my own time of creating things, and I don't necessarily like to follow the rules by its book because it feels very limiting to me. So for me, it wasn't as, I made a mistake into going into that rather than fashion. I think that if I were to go into fashion right away, I think that there would be more self-discovery within me and I wouldn't completely know who I am at that point. Because throughout middle school to high school is when I started getting into dance. And then I got invited to be a part of the competition team, and that takes many days from like 4 to 6 hours a day. Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday was like pretty much my only day off, and also my day off where I can catch up on schoolwork. And I spent most of my time playing music, which I play the trumpet at school, and doing dancing, competitive dancing. So that really took up a lot of my teen years, and I didn't really have much time to explore anywhere else until after high school. I decided to explore and to try out new things. And what I've learned is that based on my experiences and the choices that I made going into dental lab tech instead of pre-dental, I'm glad I did that because I didn't end up wasting my time and money, but right away within almost finishing the school year, I would say it was after I finished the first year of taking dental tech, I learned that it definitely wasn't something for me. And I really miss being creative and being myself. And I felt so limited in a box. And money was definitely wasn't something that is my main focus. And you can tell that if money isn't really your main focus, you should go into something that you really love and you enjoy. And I'm always someone where I always think money will always come later. Do the things that you love. And everyone has a different way to go about it within their careers and how they define a career, how they define a way of living life. And I really want to explore the nature and also the fashion and everything else like that, and just being artistic and having a time where I just feel like I'm not just working. I'm also living a life of, spending time with family and also spending time getting to know myself better, trying out new things. And I would say that taking dental lab school had really taught me more about what I don't like and also what I do like. And it's the same thing about going to college. You'll learn that, hey, I realized I'm going into something because I thought it would benefit me more. And I realized that fashion and expressing myself wasn't a phase for me since I was a teen. It was definitely something that I noticed. It's definitely something that is within me. And it's the same way that I feel about just speaking my truth and also performing. And I think that sometimes there were times where I thought to myself, oh, I wish that I could have done this before ahead of time. I felt like I'm just kind of dragging along and I'm taking too long to make decisions that are better for me. But I think that sometimes we go into certain paths to learn about ourselves and what we need to work on and what we need to recognize that are our strengths, our weaknesses, or what we like and what we approve, what we don't approve of ourselves. And what it really taught me is I am someone that loves to create, and I shouldn't just throw it away just to try to go into something that I think will benefit me. But what I've also learned is that despite of what career you go into, if it's something you're not passionate about or you're not really good in, you're gonna have to keep going back and learning the same materials just to get it right. And you don't necessarily get as paid as much if you're not as good or passionate in your job. So, and even with dental tech, they don't even pay much, but it's also a type of field that usually they have third world countries work, and they used to have a whole bunch of dental tech offices in the United States. But I think the last time that I was in class, it was back in 2020, and one of my professors mentioned that about over 100 businesses for dental tech has closed down.
That's that's insane. That's a lot of businesses. That's a lot of people's livelihoods that just is suddenly gone. It's really sad. And so do you feel like that was like a big like essentially a wake up call like I want to just pursue the things that I want rather than doing the things that hey will give me money but won't give me satisfaction in life?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that how I personally view it, and it's kind of hard for many people to view it that way because it's just a way that's kind of put in the system of society, just to ensure our safety of living and being able to afford the things we want or need in life. But I was talking about this with my other friends at fashion school, and I don't go to a design school, I go to a business school, but I do have there's other students in the school that are design focused, and they recently have not a major, but a minor in design recently from last semester at my college. And I was talking to them and I was talking to some of my friends, and I mentioned how I noticed that money is what is the evil thing that is happening in our world. It's a fear mongering and it's making people feel like they have no choice to be or to do what they want, but they have to do something that will ensure their safetyness in order to survive and not be homeless. And even living out in the city, it really taught me a lot, and I'm glad I decided to go to school in the city. It was very last minute too, because I decided I've always wanted to live in a place that where I get to experience four seasons of like each weather, like the winter, the nice colorful leaves, the fall, the spring, the summer. And I learned that I've always wanted to live in the beach, but for some reason it was during in between, like when it was getting close for me getting my associates, and I was working retail part-time at Hot Topic. And I thought to myself, I really want to do fashion. I know fashion is really the main focus. If you want to get super heavy into fashion is the main focus in New York City. So I decided I want to go to New York City. I want to live the city life. I want to experience it. I want to step out of my comfort zone. And I do have a lot of people that are in huge support of me. But I did have like a couple of people I remember that were questioning, it's very fast paced, it's very expensive. Are you sure you want to do this? And I said, well, you never know unless you try. And I think, especially at the age I am, I think that it's definitely the time to take. And it was at a risky point because, I definitely don't want to waste time and money just to go to school far away and then realize that it isn't something that's going to work out. But I decided to go to New York City, and I keep reminding myself every day, despite of, especially within the fashion industry and despite of whatever field you go into, always remind yourself of who you are. Don't change yourself just to fit into a certain mold or a box that people want you to fit in, but be open to new opportunities, experiences, and only change for the betterment and only change because you want to change. Don't change out of peer pressure, out of external forces. And I always remind myself that. And it can be easy to partake in an environment where you already have this goal or dream, and when something doesn't work out right away, it makes you feel like it isn't right for you. But how I look at it is things take time. And when things don't happen right away, it's either because it's not the right time or it just may not be the right thing for you. And there's better opportunities elsewhere or different opportunities that will come in the future. And especially at a young age when you feel pressured, especially within your 20s, feeling pressured to get yourself into something and getting ready to go on board within the workforce, you have to keep reminding yourself that each day take one step at a time and do what's most important first. And don't try to cram your schedule and don't try to fill up your basket too full. Because if your basket is too full, then the eggs will start to fall out of the basket. and then you'll end up losing everything. So it's best to remind yourself what is most important in your life, and also reminding yourself what is it that will matter within your career, but also something that you truly want to pursue. Because everything is, at the end of the day, is time and money. And that's
Mhm.
something that I always write down in a notebook saying, okay, if something isn't working out, then maybe this isn't something I should continue, or maybe I should take a different route
Mm.
if what I'm doing isn't working.
Yeah.
And this goes with anything.
Good. How would you describe your personal style to someone else that doesn't see you right now? Because we're also, audio as well on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. How would you describe your style to someone listening?
I would say my style is mostly scene and gothic. Today, my style isn't scene and gothic, but it has a lot of inspirations from the late 90s, early 2000s, and also the beachwear. And I got the inspiration heavily from Mermaidia, Barbie Mermaidia, and also Lagoon from Monster High. So that is a full-on inspiration for my outfits, and I'm incorporating more of the pastels and also the club kids, the raver kids from the 90s and earlier 2000s when they used to wear the fuzzy or like the handmade raver fat pants, and also the candy bracelets, the blur, the peace, love, unity, respect. And I get inspired by a lot of different subcultures. So one day I could be dressing in like a steampunk or a Victorian goth or a cyber gothic look, or like a mall goth, industrial gothic look. And then one day I could be dressing like the Tumblr, the MySpace inspired scene outfit attire. And then like one day I could be dressing like this, inspired by cartoon characters from my childhood, and anything sparkly and fun and cute. And yeah.
Well, you're talking about cartoon characters from your childhood. What cartoon shows were your favorite growing up?
Oh, okay. My favorite was definitely, I like SpongeBob a lot. I also liked Invader Zim. I also liked, I forgot the name, but it was the one cartoon with the robot girl.
What did she have like pigtails?
Yes, she did.
I remember that cartoon too. I was little, so I don't remember what it's called, but I remember what you're talking about. I'll probably
Yeah.
put a picture up here of that cartoon character. That's awesome. You were talking about Laguna from Monster High. When the TV show came out, were you just starstruck at Laguna? I was like, oh.
I was, yeah, and I loved all the Monster High characters. It was so hard for me to pick which one really was my favorite. I mean, I really was drawn to Draculaura and Frankie, and also I think it was Batoria. It's been a while, but I was like a huge fan of so many of the characters and even Claudine, and I liked how each of them had their own characteristics or personalities, and I always liked spooky things. As a kid growing up, I love Halloween, and also seeing everyone that is spooky but also dressing super fabulous. I think that really drew my attention. I haven't collected any of the dolls yet, but that is my goal. There's so many dolls I want to collect, including the Living Dead dolls and the Bleeding Edge goth dolls that I remember Hot Topic used to sell those. And I love collecting things that not only bring nostalgia, but also bring out this personality that I myself want to dress up as, or I want to imagine myself as. And I think that's why Monster High is so popular, is because not only is it spooky, but it also has like the clothes that every 13-year-old would dream of dressing up in.
I think it's amazing finding the things that you wish to emulate because that's the one of the biggest parts of self-discovery is not just uncovering yourself, but the things that you relate to where you want to be more like. I mean, from my own experience, I was obsessed with My Little Pony. When I was a little girl, I would always draw my hair as pink, pink curls. That's all I wanted growing up. That's all I ever wanted was pink hair. And I would beg my mom all the time, my mom and my dad both, can I please dye my hair pink? Can I please dye my hair pink? And they would be like, when you're an adult, you can dye your hair pink when you're an adult. And I remember when I was 16 years old, one of my friends, her mom was like, "Oh, do you want to dye your hair for prom?" And I was just aghast at like, "Wait, your mom is letting you dye your hair for prom? Can I come over? Can I help?" She was like, "Yeah." And so I came over and she was like, "Okay, I have a lot of bleach left over. Do you want to bleach your hair?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, I do want to bleach my hair, but I'm probably going to get murdered by my Christian parents who are Baptists and like very controlling." And so we only bleached one of my curls, which is this one in the front. And mind you, I had very, very long curly hair that had hardly ever been cut, had never been dyed. And I came home with a blonde streak that I had dyed pink. And my mom was livid, livid, so angry. She's like, "Your hair is your glory. How dare you destroy your beauty?" Whatever. And when I was, 18, I bleached my whole head and dyed my hair pink. And it was
Yes.
amazing. I was so excited. And I still do it today. I let it fade out to some blonde, but you can still see some pink in there. I let
Hmm.
it fade out. I let it grow out a bit before I, re-dye it, re-bleach it because I have curly hair. I need it to be somewhat healthy. Come on now.
Yeah.
Or the curls break apart and they become more of waves. But that Pinkie Pie having pink curly hair was my aha moment of this is what I want. This is who I want to emulate. She is a pony that has so many friends. She's like the glue of the entire friend group. She plans the parties. She wants to have everyone hang out. She's the resolver of all conflict. Like she's doing her best. And that's what I really wanted to emulate. That's who I wanted to be. And even still to this day, I'm the one person in my friend group that hosts all these parties for everybody to come over. Like I'm having a Lunar New Year party tomorrow at the time of filming. And I'm so excited by that because that's what my self-discovery was that cartoon character, My Little Pony, Pinkie Pie, was I was like, this is who I want to be. I want to step out of this box of, being a obedient child, which, was Pinkie Pie's story as well. She lived on a rock farm and her parents were just very blah, and her sister was just very blah. And it's just, she got to escape and become her true self. And that's all I wanted growing up. And hey, I'm living it now. And little me would be so amazed. Little me would be so proud of older me now. I really want to ask you, how has your journey of self-discovery influenced how you connect with other people, maybe even the younger generation? How do you impart your wisdom to them? If someone comes up to you and is like, "Oh my gosh, I love your style. How did you start?" What would you say to them?
I would honestly tell them that it definitely did take some time. And it wasn't something that I jumped into right away. And I think that, especially with the younger generations today, I think that because they've seen so many people are able to get the clothes that they want and trying out new styles, they feel pressure into feeling like they will never get what they want. And they will find ways to try to get as many materialistic things that they want. And my reminder for them is definitely take the time to delve into anything you want to experiment. And you can like many things, or you can get really into something, but definitely do not spend too much money on things just to create an aesthetic wardrobe. Sooner or later, you're going to find out, oh, I'm not really into this, or oh, I think I want to step away from this particular style or lifestyle. And I tell people that take time and you should never spend too much money just to get into something. If there's like a piece of clothing or there's a brand that is a little more on the higher price range or expensive, definitely, save up. You can save up and you can get something to treat yourself, but definitely don't feel pressure to get into something. And I remember when I first started experimenting myself, I remember that there was a time when I was a kid where I did not care about dressing up at all. And my parents just got me clothes and I just wear whatever I got in my closet. My mom helped me put an outfit together because I did not care about clothes at all. And the thing that I really liked though was designing some stuff on paper or making jewelry out of paper, which I did as a kid, or just drawing art and being creative and experimental. And it wasn't until I was 9, 10, 11 years old when I started to feel like I wanted to start experimenting with my looks. And I tried so hard because I had moved a lot. I moved from Maryland to the western part of New York in the upstate area. And I saw all these girls were wearing a whole bunch of clothing brands, like the Justice clothing brands. And I never heard of that brand before. I don't know if they had it in the state of Maryland. They probably did, but I probably didn't see anyone in my school wearing it. But I remember the girls would wear a bunch of South Pole brand clothes. And I forgot what it was called, but there was also this buddy shirt where they would have all these funny words on it, but it'll be like this sassy bunny. And then there's this other one, like the monkey on the shirt. I forgot what it was called. It's been a while. Oh, Bobby Jack. There's also Bobby Jacks. But when I moved to Western New York, I found out about Justice and I was trying to get into it because I saw all the girls who were wearing it. They were attractive and, they were most likely someone that was fitting in with the crowd or the ones where they had a lot of friends or seemed like they had a lot of friends. And it wasn't until after that experience I learned that labels and fitting into a specific status isn't going to make you happy. It's just going to make you do a lot of overconsumption and getting into something that you personally don't like because you think you actually like it, but because you think that's what you're supposed to like. And there's definitely a huge difference between that. And I know that I'm kind of going into this in a long way, but this is something that I would actually have a deep personal talk with someone younger than me or someone trying to get into a particular style or trying to get into a particular moment where they want to freely express themselves more or experiment with other styles or style choices of clothing. And I would honestly say, don't do something because you feel like you think that's what's going to make your outfit look the most stylish because everyone is doing it. If something seems too difficult or something seems too stressful and it's not speaking to you, don't jump into it. Take the time to evaluate this is something you really like, and fitting into a status should not matter. Being yourself, doing what makes you happy is going to be the most glorifying and the most happy moment that you will possibly feel within yourself. And something that I wish I could do if there was a time machine when I go back, I would tell my 9-year-old self, hey, there's no need to go on a diet. There's no need to try to beg your parents to take you to justice because at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. Do what you like, and these people that you think are cool, you're not going to know them in the future because you're all going to go in separate paths. Or you may know them, but it's their life and you can't compare yourself to other people because you're not them. You're only you. The only thing you can do is be yourself or be the better version of yourself. If there's things that you want to do more self-improvement, whether it's through your learning or through, how you groom yourself and how you style yourself. But I would tell people, take the time to really get into any music or look up the people that your eyes are looking at, someone that you admire, like a celebrity or a model or just anyone you see walking down the streets. And you're like, oh my gosh, I love the way they express themselves. Then you should start focusing more on that because that's a telling sign that whatever caught your eye is definitely a part of something that is you and something that you see yourself either identifying or experimenting with.
That's very beautiful. And something that my parents would tell me was comparison is the thief of joy. When we compare ourselves to others and we don't know the full picture, we're often like measuring ourselves up to someone else where we don't understand every aspect of who that person is, why they are the way they are, how they got to be that way. Something that I really want to like stress to um, the listeners is that when you are on this journey of who am I, what do I like, what do I dislike, take your time.
Mhm.
Explore different avenues of who am I? What are the things that I like? And there is no like time limit. You could be 50 years old listening to this now and be like, I love the way Avalon is dressed. Wait, hold up. Maybe I want to dye my hair blue and put sequins on my clothes. Maybe I want to do something like that. There is no time limit. There's
Mhm.
genuinely no time limit. And the more time you just waste time not doing the things that you want to do, you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, wow, I wish I would have started sooner. That was really me after I started dyeing my hair pink. And I had a conversation with my uncle, and I don't know if he was joking, if he was being facetious, but it felt like there was a air of truth. It was during Christmas, so like a month ago, and the pink was pretty faded out except for like the under part of my hair. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, your hair is back to a normal color." And I was like, "No, not really." And I lifted up my hair and you could see pink. And he was like, "I'm not coming to your wedding if you dye your hair pink." And I was just shocked. It's like, "You're really not coming to my wedding?" Because my wedding's in April. "You're really not coming to my wedding if my hair is pink? What do you mean? This is not a phase." And he's like, "Yes, it is a phase." And all of my cousins who've grown up with me were like, "No, it isn't a phase. Grace has been wanting to do this for as long as we can remember. And it's been since I'm 18. I'm 24 now. I'm turning 25. So it's been a significant period of time." And he was like, "Well, then I guess I just won't be at your wedding." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess that's sad for you. You won't get to see me." And I just walked away because what else are you supposed to do? There's no point in having an argument over something that trivial. If someone doesn't want to, be kind to you over the way you express yourself, don't give them the time of day. Just leave it be. Have you
That's true.
ever met people that confront you about your style and try to limit your expression?
I have, yes. From my personal experience, it's not a lot. I mostly get more like positive or neutral feedback, but I can tell when things are more on the backhanded side of the compliment. But I do want to say, first of all, congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
so happy for you. I love weddings.
I am excited too. I found you through my friend Catlin, Claude Beauty, and she's one of my bridesmaids. And she told me today, she was like, "Guess what?" I was like, "What?" Like, "I got my bridesmaid dress." I'm like, because I'm excited. I mean, she was a part of me getting my dress, but I'm just so excited for like, the dressing up aspect because it's the one day where it's socially, societally acceptable to be dressed up like a princess, and no one can tell you anything. And I think that's another huge bit of my life is I have been so limited by, the place where I grew up. I'm in the deep South, I am in a conservative land where everybody wants you to conform. If you're doing anything other than the norm, you are an outsider, you are an outcast. And that
Mhm.
brings me into your question, like the question of like alternative dressing. How do you define alternative dressing and what does it mean to you?
What it personally means to me is not doing it in the way that you want people to perceive you and not caring about how other people will perceive you. It's more so of doing it because you like it and because it's how you identify within yourself. And I think that when you take the term alternative, people always like to label it with, you know, the tattoos you have or the bright hair color you have and the piercings. But I remember having this one conversation with my one friend, and her style is more of a preppier style, and we're both like really close friends. And I think I liked how a lot of people today are a lot more open-minded and there isn't the whole battle. I remember since middle school, the whole battle between, the goths and the preps, and I just thought it was a funny time era. But I personally, I just remember that I, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
It's okay. How would you define alternative
Yeah,
dressing?
alternative. Sorry, I was like thinking of food, but
I love
of
that.
food. Yeah. I was like hungry for a little bit. I was thinking, what am I going to eat for supper tonight while I was like talking? But yeah, the whole point of alternate wear is she was saying how, oh, and I get people saying this a lot. I don't know why, but people are like, oh, I'm boring. I'm not as interesting as you. I couldn't pull that off. And I told them, well, the whole point of experimenting and being alternative isn't all about standing out or dressing in something totally different from everyone else. It's about doing something that makes you happy and in a way where you don't feel like you want to necessarily fit in. You just want to be you. And the whole point of being alternative is also being yourself advocate and standing up for yourself, standing for what you believe in. And it doesn't have to be something as like, you don't always have to be like, oh, I have to do something extreme to be looked at as alternative. And I think that's something that a lot of younger people trying to get into the alternative scene, whether it's in the punk or the metal, the goth, the emo, the scene, etc., or like any of the cute, kawaii Harajuku styles, Agaru styles. I think people need to remember that everything getting into a particular subculture does take time. And what alternative means is embracing your individuality, not caring about what anyone thinks, and doing what makes you happy versus living a conventional lifestyle where you're doing something because you looked at it as deemed as the norm and deemed what is acceptable and appropriate. So being alternative is doing something that you know goes against what is deemed appropriate or considered the norm, but it's more so doing it because you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it to be pleased and you're not doing it to be liked. And when I dress alternative, I notice that I actually connect with people and friends that are meant to be my friends and people that are meant to be in my life. Whereas I noticed that, and I would test this just to see what's going on when I would dress a little bit like I just got out of bed and, I don't give a hoot about what I looked like. And I do this sometimes when I don't even want to dress up. I don't dress up all the time. And there's nothing wrong with dressing in PJs or dressing in a business suit. But I do this in a way to see if people will still appreciate me for who I am. And the ones that like me for me, you can tell because people will sit there and they'll listen to you. They won't get bored or they won't ask you, okay, but what do you want to do? Which is something that I've encountered. And it does suck sometimes because sometimes people only want to get to know you or be friends with you because they're interested in the particular lifestyle that you present yourself as. And because people want to bring this sort of excitement to their world, they feel the need to find someone or when they see someone that has that specific energy that they necessarily don't experience, they will find any way to either manipulate or to take on that same space and energy as yours. And I also explain to a lot of people that the reason why people are some people are closed-minded and can be judgy or get upset at other people simply living their lives is because they are living so deep in their own minds and they think the world runs in a way that looks like how they view it. And they oftentimes forget that they live in a life where it's not solely how they view the world, but it's how everyone is in the world. And you don't necessarily have to like or agree with people's choices, but at the end of the day, you should only be worrying about yourself. And as long as you are now living their life or doing the same things, then it shouldn't be a problem. If you got nothing nice to say, then better not say it at all. And to answer the last question you asked me, I remember when I worked in a grocery store. I worked in a grocery store that was more right conservative leaning. And I would have a whole bunch of like bright hair colors. And this was before I dyed my hair blue. I would dye my hair every other color but blue. And then when I dyed my hair blue, I was like, this is it. I found my color. And I haven't dyed my hair color in any other color. And I was wearing these hair extensions. And I remember this lady had purple hair. And this is the funniest interaction ever because I would have people that are really right-leaning that would be nice and would compliment me. And I would think that it's nice that they're being nice to me, but it's also ironic at the same time because you would think they'll be so judgy. Whereas this one lady who seemed alternative, she had tattoos and she had bright purple hair. But when she cashed out, she was asking me why I wore my hair the way I did, or why am I wearing, this necklace because I wore it. And I said, well, it's how I chose and I like to express myself. And she was like looking at me. And she was like, okay. And she was like talking underneath her breath. And I was thinking to myself, this doesn't seem, math isn't mathing and it's something that I learned that sometimes you can't really judge on how people will treat you or how they will act by their looks. Kind of like don't judge a book by its cover. And it's something that a lot of us growing up have learned from people saying or movies, TV shows, schools have mentioned it. But I don't think that some people really think of what it actually means. Don't judge a book by its cover. Because you could be looking at, for example, food. I love food. You could look at a plate of this really delicious cake, and this cake can look really sweet and beautiful, but then when you take a bite out of it, it could taste really bad and stale. It's probably like the ingredients just, it's not good. And then if you look at another plate of a dessert, it might not look the prettiest, but it is out of this world. It's chef's kiss, so good. It tastes really good. But yeah.
That's a very sweet analogy, and I like it. I think it is very interesting and it resonates with me because I have been watching a lot of cake videos because my wedding's coming up and I'm like, I don't want to pay a bunch of money for a nice cake, right? I'm like, okay, how am I going to make this cake on my own? And a lot of wedding cakes that look super big and expensive are literally just cardboard or plastic that has icing on them. Literally. Like it's all surface level. And that gets me into my next question about fashion and about designing and about following your dreams. How do you make sure that you're not taking advantage of a industry that really does feed off of insecurity of people?
I always remind myself, what's the main reason why you're in fashion school? And it's something that I notice and I do find sad. And I know this doesn't go the same for everyone because I notice sometimes people change because they realize a part of themselves or they want to get into a particular industry, which I'm all about it. I support that. But I'm just saying this again on a general basis. I notice and I realize that so many people that go into fashion, before they attend fashion school, I saw their social media and I saw them before, like before the school had started, and they all had this bright personality. They had this bright light. They had a hope. They had a dream. They were very experimental with their looks. And then throughout the school, I can tell that they seemed like they had to dim their light a little bit. And I was friends with someone that I know who wanted to go to a design school, wanted to get into a design school so badly. And she wanted to be a designer, but she couldn't get into this one school that she wanted to go to. And I told her, hey, and I said, I know that it must suck because there are like schools prior before I decided that I'm just going to go into fashion. There were some dental schools I want to get into, but it didn't work out in my favor. And I told her that with the school that you're attending, you can still make the best out of it. If there's something that isn't providing your needs or there's something that isn't working out in your favor, you can create that atmosphere for yourself. You can make something out of it. And my school has this fashion show. And I'm not going to say the name of the school, but there's the school I'm attending right now. I'm finishing my second last year. So I'm going to get a bachelor's in business of fashion. And I'm currently a senior. And I'm surprised that I'm here, but anytime I wake up, I remind yourself why you're here. Sometimes you may feel nostalgic for the past because the past is what you remembered. It's what makes you comfortable and it's what makes you feel like you were most successful. But every chapter has its own path. And where you're starting right now, you can't see what's at the other end of the tunnel. And within the fashion industry, there's going to be a lot of pressure to make people feel like they're not good enough or they're not fitting in. And it's a talk that I have a lot with my dad. And without my dad, I couldn't have gotten this far. He had really believed in me. He wanted to help me, and he believed that I could achieve my goals, whatever I want to do in life. And he could tell that this was something that I'm truly in deep in awe with. And it's something that I have used since I was young to express myself. And something that I had to remind myself is patience is key. And people will be there to notice this certain light or this certain energy that you have, and people will try to find every way to critique you. But that critiqueness is not something that should diminish you or something that makes you feel insecure about yourself. And no matter what field you go into, you're going to have people that would try to criticize you and tell you that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, or, you're this and you're that. And a lot of times it's false accusations, and it's a way that there's a lot of people with jealousy and people not wanting you to move forward. And so this fashion show that it's like a production show that I was trying to join. I joined the fashion design club because I've been wanting to learn how to sew. And I was talking to this one girl that was the captain of the fashion design club. And I was talking to her saying that, you know, because she had brought up that the production show didn't want the club to show their designs because they're going on a different route. They're going in a more corporate direction. And so I was saying, oh, that's really sad because this could be an opportunity for students to showcase their designs. And it's also a great way to market the school and to showcase what students have, come up with. And even though the school is more of a business focus, I said, without design, there will be no business. And without business, there will be no design. And I know that both work in completely different areas within the fashion industry, but they all work together. And I don't like how a lot of things that are labeled are oftentimes separated. And for most times, I think they should all work together. And I remember telling this girl saying, how about we create our own fashion show? We could create our designs, we could create our own theme. And so she was really down for it, but she says, if I talk to the higher ups, they're probably going to say no to it. And I said, well, you're the club leader. And I'm begging her, I'm like, please talk about this. This isn't because I'm thinking of this idea and I want it for myself. It's because this will benefit the students. And oftentimes, students either can't afford to go to a design school or they don't have the necessary skills or knowledge to really design, or maybe business is the only main option they could get into, but they still want to design. And this will be a betterment for students to showcase their skills, their ideas, or their hard work or collaboration. And so she finally talked to the higher ups and we got that passed. But then as the years gone by, the production show heard they were going their own path and they said, wait a minute, actually, we want you guys to be a part of it because we actually want to give you guys more recognition. Everyone was super excited and I wanted to feel excited, but I remember during that time, I actually felt really I felt kind of suspicious about it and also nervous about it because I knew something isn't right. It's like, wait a minute, you didn't want us and now you wanted us back because of recognition. And so what's going on in my mind, I was thinking, is it because you want to give the students recognition or is it because you want to use some of us for your benefits? And so they were in the one time, I haven't attended the fashion club in a while, and I have not yet learned how to sew anything. And so when I went to the club, they said, okay, so the leader said, we've got some news. So they want us to be a part of the fashion show. So the theme is like the elements, but specifically our design is going to be the desert. And I'm thinking, okay, it's an idea, the desert. There's so many things in the desert that you can get a lot of inspirations from. You can create any kind of theme surrounding it. So the first thing that popped in my mind was the dark crystal and also amethyst and like flowers, butterflies. And they said, but the color has to be one color palette. And I'm thinking to myself, what could that be? And the girls said, it's going to be a beige color palette. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. So immediately I was like, no, 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 no. And I was like, have you talked to them? Have you said that let's do a vote and see like what we want to do as a theme for the desert? Because the desert has many themes. And I'm thinking to myself, are you trying to create a new Skims collection for the Kardashians or like what's going on here? And so they were like, well, they're really strict about it and they want to pick with their certain ideas. So unfortunately, that's what we're going to have to do. And I said, well, we were doing our own thing. Do you think we should do a voting to see what everyone's more comfortable with? And because she also had mentioned that they're not going to have everyone part of the show, they're going to be selected. And I'm thinking that it's really sad because the industry itself is already challenging in its way, and it's also competitive. And especially in a higher institutional and educational place, students should be able, with the money and time that they have paid, or their families have helped them, or whoever has helped them, or maybe they're the ones that are doing it for themselves. It's a lot of money and time, and students should be able to get the chance to experiment and to see if this is something for them and to be able to be given a chance to showcase any ideas or hard work that they put into something within a project or a concept. And I just think it's so unfair because why be selected for everything when everyone could be given that chance? Because you never know, someone that you didn't select could have really good designs. And I also noticed that also being selective and not doing things working with the group is just putting yourself first. But how I think that if anyone wants to go far in life, I think that being selfish and doing things for yourself is not going to get you far in life. Working things together with other people and helping other people, your time will come, your time will be there to shine. And I was like having my designs, I had this design of like an amethyst dresses and like butterflies on it. And it was something that I really wanted to create. Had no idea how to like sew or anything like that. I was like trying to find a freelancer. I was trying to find someone to help me design, and I haven't found anyone because everyone was telling me, I love your designs, but this looks really complicated. I think you should simplify your designs. And I said, I already have my designs in hand. I would not do anything to dim down my designs just to showcase it. If I want to show my designs and if it's not going to happen right away, I would rather try to find a way and the right time will happen. And I'm glad that I was patient about that because I know that sometimes people would do anything to showcase that they had made or created an idea or a product. And for me, it's like, no, I will never do anything just to dim down my idea, just to showcase that idea. And I remember that I was talking to the girl and I said, hey, this dress, I'm not going to make it beige because I was explaining how the deserts you can find, amethysts and butterflies. And they were like, well, you can make it beige. And then I said, that doesn't make any sense. That's not going to work. And they said, well, I mean, if it can't be beige and it can't be in the show. And I was like, okay, imagine you see a cactus in the desert and you're like, wait a minute, you're not beige. Let me take you to Antarctica. Maybe you'll fit better with the polar bears. And they were just like standing there looking at me and they're like, we're still not going to let that in. And so I asked him, okay, can you tell me who are the higher ups so I can ask for their approval and see if they would still allow my ideas to be a part of the show and to move forward. And I said the best way is to ask. And if they said no, then a no, but I'm not going to have a student tell me no. And they said, oh, I don't know what higher ups to reach out to. And I was like, you guys have been here in this school before me. This is my first year in the school, and you're telling me that you don't know who to contact. That doesn't make sense. I'm sure you know there are some people that I could reach out to. You just don't want me to ask the question. Like, it's not going to hurt. You're not going to lose your star moment of showing your own designs. And it was something I definitely learned within that process is it's definitely not as easy by just showing what you want to portray with your work. And there will be people that would try to limit you because they're trying to stop you or because they believe that things should be run in a certain manner because of what the higher authorities said it must be. And I think that if you want things to go in your own way, not entirely your own way, but to also go in ways that you think would be benefit for everyone in a fair way is to also talk and to also have meetings and be like, hey, the desert thing, I think there's an idea to that. I think that the desert is more than just a beige color, but also I think they were trying to go for a more of a dune aesthetic, but I was thinking at the moment, I was thinking, why beige? Oh, like sand is not all beige. And I think that just having one color is just, it's boring. And also, I think they only picked not many students, probably like four or three. That's what I heard. I don't know because I didn't see the show, but they have specifically brought other people outside of the school to showcase their designs. And that's something that really bothered me because they said it's student run and it should be student focused. And I think, why are these people lying? Like these people, this school is more so of a left-leaning liberal school, but what they're doing is the opposite of liberating and bringing new ideas. And I remember I got so sad, I was reaching to other departments within the school and I was reaching out to the higher ups. I explained why I think this will benefit. I said I got from like this inspiration from the Arizona desert. I never been there, but I really like the butterflies and the amethyst, and I think this will be a great way to incorporate it within the desert theme of the show. And I got an email back saying that if it can't be beige, it can't be in the show. And remember, I was like crying because it's like my dream is to showcase my designs. I have no experience in sewing, and I'm not really good at making things. I do make things, but they do break often, but I do enjoy making things. And I actually reached out to some of the departments. They were able to reach back out to me and they were able to like help me, but it took since spring 2020, it took since winter 2024 until now just to organize this idea, which I finally had contacted the vice president. This was not an easy route because like trying to email, trying to get my ideas across and trying to set it, I had this idea where, okay, this thing isn't working out for me. I've talked to other students and they all said that they wanted to be a part of the show, but they felt limited. They felt like they want to go more of a creative, artistic route rather than a corporate route. And they don't want to do just the high fashion brand and the corporate. And this is something that you learn within the business of fashion is that people say that fashion is all about experimenting, being yourself. But when you really go into a business fashion school, it is so far different from that. Like they can be open, but it's more so of, okay, wherever you fit, you kind of have to fit in this mold. You have to be kind of in this specific way. And that's something you kind of have to learn is that you can't just go into something because you think is right. It's not going to benefit you. And I finally got to reach to the vice president. And I had this idea because I was talking to other students. I had this idea to create an artistic kind of a Met Gala themed fashion show where students can participate in styling, photography, and like they can style different outfits if they can't afford to get fabrics to create designs or they are unable to collaborate with anyone, they can style pieces of clothing together on a model or to create designs. And I finally got this idea passed, so we're in the process of setting that up, and I'm like really happy about it because I want to create an environment where everyone can feel included and it's not exclusive and selected. And I I run the dance club at my school. And the one time I only had one person show up that one time because it was actually close to finals and everyone was busy with like their homework and everything, which I understand. But I was still holding the club and this one girl attended my club and she's super sweet. We have great conversations. And then out of the blue, she was asking me, "Hey, do you model?" And I was like smiling. I said, "No, I've never modeled." And I was like, "Why did you ask?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I like to ask people to model my clothes because I sew and I have my own little brand." I was like, "Yeah, I would love to support your brand." And I was thinking, wait, she sews. And then I asked, "Hey, would you be down to collab?" Because I've been for the longest time in trying to find a manufacturer and a freelancer has now worked out. I didn't think it was going to be hard to find it, but it's so hard to find someone to help work with you because you definitely don't want someone to either scam you or you don't want to get like be overpriced or you never know if someone would steal your ideas. It has to be someone you could really trust. And because I had this conversation with this person, I already got a good vibe from this person. And she was like, "Yeah, I'd be down to help you design these clothes and everything." And yeah, that's where it started, and then it's where it kind of left off. So we're working together, and the show and this idea is here. So even though this idea I had, I wanted to make it work from last spring semester in 2024, and it didn't happen. Instead of just giving it up and then being like, "Oh, whatever, this school is going to run its own way. I'm just going to just let it go and not get involved in anything." I really had this idea where I want to create that comfortable environment for people. And I'm glad that I stuck with it and I kept fighting for it. But it was a lot of emailing, it was a lot of trying to get things to happen. And it is stressful, but the thing that I want the listeners to know is that there's something you truly are passionate about it, don't stop fighting for it. Don't just chase for it, but find ways to get your voice heard and don't ever let anyone shut your voice down.
That is a beautiful closing statement. And I'm really proud of you for following through with your dreams and your ambitions. That's very inspiring. And I'm glad. I can't wait to see what comes up out of it. You gotta send me some pictures, girl, because that's really, really exciting. Do you
Yes,
have
definitely.
do you have any resources or recommendations you'd like to share with us?
Just about anything.
Yeah, that have helped you.
I would say the best advice I could give is definitely don't let any external factors get in the way and distract you of focusing on your life and yourself. Whatever you have in front of you, worry about it. If anyone tries to disrupt your path or disrupt your well-being, walk away. There's no way to argue about it or to fight about it. And something that I learned is sometimes you may be asking yourself why things happen the way they do, or things could have been better, or things were better before, or is this the right choice? Definitely pay attention to everything that's happening to you. Don't let fears or anxiety get in the way of you making decisions or happily making the wrong decisions. Be wary of what's going on and ask yourself, what is most important to you? And life is too short to live too serious. So definitely go have fun, meet people, And when you meet people, you find tremendous and amazing stories from people. And sometimes I think to myself, some people really need their own show where they just share their life. And there's so much that when you talk to someone, it's like opening a book you've never read before and you're reading into their life. Even if you're just peeking at the book for a little bit and you're skimming through the words. It's always something that I imagine when I talk to people or when I share my stories and I have conversations with many individuals, creative or people that just want to learn about what the other person is into or who they are and what they like.
That's beautiful. How can I support you going forward with all the things that you're doing?
I would say definitely keep in contact and doesn't have to be too much or anything big. I think that creating community and supporting, reaching out, viewing each other's content and what we share online. And I joined the online community pretty late. It's something that a lot of friends have told me, you should start posting yourself online. You should like start putting yourself out there. And I joined in early 2022 on Instagram. I didn't have a phone growing up because my family couldn't afford it, and it was a choice that whether I got a phone or if I dance. And I truly love expressing myself through creativity and performance, so I chose dance. I didn't get a phone until I was 18. And it's funny because I told some of my friends then, they're like, so, and I had this one friend of mine, he was actually serious when he asked this, and it's funny. He was like, so, how did you learn how to socialize if you didn't have a phone when you were a teen? And I was like, I wasn't living under a rock. Like, I was still going to school. I still interacted with people. And, like, we still had computers. So I'm pretty sure I would know the cues and socializing in whatever time period I'm in. But I'm actually glad that I didn't have a phone when I was a teen because now, I mean, I'm on my phone a lot because I like to look at a lot of inspirations on Pinterest and also just contacting people and emails. But yeah, just the thing I like about social media is you put yourself out there, which I'm glad that I did join because my friends have pushed me, and I'm glad that I did join, able to create and also showcase, my style and everything. There's a lot that I definitely want to share and I haven't shared, but I'm trying to do better with posting. I usually don't post a lot, but people are just like, just post it, just post whatever, just do it. And I'm just like, well, I kind of like to organize and be like, okay, this is the theme I'm doing, and I'm just going to post it there. But definitely how to support, like, definitely reach out and, see what other people are sharing. And I think it's a great place to share art and storytelling. And it's a way to inspire people. And yeah.
I think that's amazing. Everybody go check her out on Instagram. It's Avalon OXO. That is AVALONOXO. Thank you so much for sharing on our podcast and telling your
Yes.
story of resilience. And I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be on your podcast and to be speaking with you. And I love hearing about your stories and what you relate to and your inspirations. And it definitely has led me to think and have a flashback of my own personal life. And you're such a nice and kind person. And I wish you the best in everything. And congratulations again on your marriage. I'm so happy and excited for you.
If you're watching us over on YouTube, you can see in the background we're going to spin our wheel of emotions to learn a new feeling and how it correlates to trauma. Let's spin this wheel, shall we? We'll be quick about it. It landed in the anger category, critical, which is skeptical and sarcastic. I think sarcasm is a coping mechanism that many of us have developed to deal with hard situations that we don't fully comprehend. The anger emotion is to let us know that something is wrong, right? If we're feeling anger, that is because something that is happening to us is wrong, right? And so oftentimes we become really hypercritical of ourselves and of other people when we don't believe them. I want to err on a side of caution whenever we're feeling either hypercritical of ourselves or of others, to take a step back and pause. Why am I feeling this way about this person? Is it more to do with me, or is it more to do with them? And have that reflection to help you on your journey. If you're liking what we're doing here on the Trauma Dump podcast, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us over on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show. Remember, you are capable of a fulfilling life in spite of your circumstances and your trauma. May you rise again from the ashes and be filled with peace, hope, love, joy, and understanding. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a peaceful and productive rest of your day. Goodbye.